Hey folks, my name's Jack, welcome to Peach Guitars, and today we're going to offer you a showcase on the beauty of the burst. So, as you may or may not be aware, Beauty of the Burst refers specifically to this fantastic book that came out 30 years ago now. And at the time of its publication, this book documented as best as it could 58, 59 and 1960 Les Paul standard sunburst guitars in immense detail. This book is a fantastic read, lots of beautiful images, and it really shows the variety that there was among all the sunburst guitars. 30 years on, Gibson Custom Shop being where it is, you're now able to commission specific recreations of guitars from that book. So aside from the regular reissues that we all know, like the 58, 59, 60 and so on Les Paul standard reissues, that cover all the general attributes that those guitars had in terms of their finishes and their neck profiles, their wood configurations, their pickups and so on. You can now go one step further if you wish with the Gibson Custom Shop and commission individual vintage guitars, specific examples of them, to have a perfect replica made. And today I'm going to delve into 5 choices from that Beauty of the Burst collection that we have in stock right now. There's quite a wide variety of different bursts here, but I want to try and put across to you the difference in the Beauty of the Burst collection guitars. They're a little bit more personal, I would say. There's a bit more nuance, and because it's reflecting a specific instrument from history, you get a bit of that kind of historical connection even further. And some of these guitars as well have artist connections as well. So if there's a particular Les Paul from history that you knew and loved growing up and getting into guitar playing, there is now a chance that you can have that exact guitar recreated for yourself. So let's delve in to 5 of the Beauty of the Burst collection. 1959 Les Paul Standard, Beauty of the Burst, page 116. Okay, so guitar number 1 that we're going to take a look at is affectionately known as Gemini. The owner of the original version of this guitar is in fact Gibson's current CEO, Cesar Goikian. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Cesar. So this is one of his personal guitars. It's well known also to John here at Peach. He's played this guitar a bunch and has remarked that it's one of his favourite vintage instruments that he's ever played. The unique thing about Gemini is that in terms of its serial number and therefore its historic placement, it is, as far as we know, the closest guitar to the famous Greenie Les Paul, as in it's separated by just a few digits in its serial number, and in fact that separation is only due to a serialization of guitar amplifiers that were made at the time. So in terms of actual Les Paul standard models, this could very well have been next in line or made immediately before Greenie. So it shares perhaps a fair bit of DNA with that guitar. And I have to say that tonally, of the 5 that I've played today, this has the most unique character in terms of its brightness. It's got the most clarity to it. It's got an extreme amount of top-end detail. I really like it. And aesthetically, you can see some of the details coming to life that the Murphy Lab is able to apply to these Beauty of the Burst collection guitars, specifically the wear or lack thereof down here by the controls. The controls themselves are quite worn, where they've obviously been played a lot, but you can see a decent chunk of cherry still in the finish down here on the lower bout, as well as some wear on the upper bout here that's obviously been caused just by, again, a lot of playing the guitar. So relicking is done down to the finest detail, again recreating everything that's on the original, including a bit of checking and wear onto the side of the neck. It's a very comfortable guitar to play, and one thing that really sets all of the individual bursts apart from one another was the reveal of the bobbin colour underneath the pickups. So of course they would have all originally shipped from the factory with double nickel covers, but taking the covers off would reveal different coloured bobbins, and you'll see from the rest of the guitars that we've got here as well, there was quite a variety. Gemini appears to have a cool cream coloured pickup. I'm a sucker for a cream humbucker. I think they look amazing. And this is a factory cream PAF in the bridge pickup with the original nickel cover at the neck. So it's got a lot of character to this guitar. It obviously has a lot of significance to Gibson itself, being that their CEO currently owns the original. I also love the fact that it's got Grovers that were obviously fitted at a later date from the original. All of this stuff, by the way, is documented in the book. So there's multiple points of reference for the history of these things, and the fact that Gibson have an intimate connection with this guitar suggests that it's definitely one of their best from the collection. 1959 Les Paul Standard, Beauty of the Burst, page 58. Okay, guitar number 2 is another 1959 Les Paul Standard, which, if you've paid any attention to the history of rock music, especially rock music videos, this may be very familiar to you. It's a very cool tobacco sunburst, something you don't see too often. It's one of my personal favourite finishes of 50s Les Pauls. The original guitar was owned by Aerosmith's Joe Perry, and later went on to become in the possession of Slash as well. And this guitar was the guitar that was in the November Rain Guns N' Roses music video. Very, very famous Les Paul. It's probably the reason a lot of people decided to start playing guitar or to buy their first Les Paul, in fact. It has a lot of significance, the original. And I really, really like this recreation. It's quite a light guitar, I would say. Tonally, I put this guitar in E flat. It felt fitting to kind of pay attention to the Slash connection. It's got a really nice snarl to the tone. The history of the guitar kind of speaks for itself. It is documented in the book as well, but its more recent history gets even cooler in the fact that after Slash owned this guitar for some time and used it in recordings, it was actually gifted back to Joe Perry for his 50th birthday by Slash. So it's a really nice circular connection with two of the great Les Paul players of all time. One of the best looking Les Pauls, I would say, of all time as well. And it happens to play really well too. So if you were a Guns N' Roses fan growing up or an Aerosmith fan, you can commission this exact guitar to be made. So it's a very specific piece of history that Gibson Custom Shop with their Murphy Lab is able to recreate to the finest detail. 1959 Les Paul Standard, Bigsby, Beauty of the Burst, page 138. So, guitar number 3. Now this is one that, as far as we know, doesn't have an artist connection, but it's still a stunning example of a 59, or in this case actually a 60 Les Paul Standard, with some interesting factory variations, of which it should be pretty obvious what I'm talking about. This one had a factory-fitted Bigsby tremolo, which lends a very different feel to this instrument. Now I mentioned that it's actually a 60, so there's a unique quirk with this, and the beautiful thing about what Gibson's doing with this collection is they can play with the history a little bit. So this guitar actually, in terms of its serial number that's replicating and its aesthetics, is a 1960 burst, but they've decided to recreate it with 59 specs, namely the neck profile. So 59 is just a neck profile that a lot more guitar players feel comfortable with, rather than the slightly slimmer 60s profile. So for all intents and purposes, it is a 60 guitar in terms of its look and what it's replicating, but it has that slightly bigger 59 neck profile. So aside from the fact that this guitar has a very rare factory-fitted Bigsby, I actually think this is a really great example of the other end of what Gibson's able to do in terms of their relicking. So all the other guitars feature Tom Murphy's aging process, or the Murphy Labs aging process. This guitar is a VOS, so it's as close to original as it would have been when it came out of the factory back in 1960, and that's replicated with the finish as well. So you can see it's still got a huge amount of its original cherry finish on the outer edges of the guitar. It's slightly faded into a nice honey burst finish, but for all intents and purposes, this is a very close recreation of what an original Les Paul Standard would have looked like, with this very cool factory edition of the Bigsby. But I just like to see that, as well as the relicking that they do so well, they do also recreate guitars that are as close to factory, as close to mint as possible. And a lot of players like that kind of thing, so it's great to have both ends of the spectrum. 1959 Les Paul Standard, Beauty of the Burst, page 78. Right, guitar number 4, as you may have guessed by this point, is another 1959 Les Paul Standard. And I think it's one of the most unique looking Les Pauls. It's got way more of the original cherry finish on the outer edges of the guitar, and the most obvious, striking, and in my opinion, beautiful elements of this guitar. Dual white humbucking PAF pickups. Again, this would have shipped from the factory with the original nickel covers in place. A lot of players and collectors remove those covers for various reasons. And as I mentioned before, the variety of different bobbin colours I think is quite an exciting element to differentiate some of these guitars. Double whites, I believe, is one of the most rare configurations that this guitar happens to sport, as well as that really unique finish. So this guitar to me has a very unique playing character and tonal character as well. It's got kind of the fullest tone, I felt. It really delivered on that kind of Clapton Beano kind of tone, as well as some Zeppelin. You know, it can kind of do a little bit of everything, but it's got some attitude and some thickness to it, which I really enjoyed. So as well as paying extra attention to the finish of this guitar, which is quite unique, as I mentioned, so many other guitars have lost the cherry in their finish and kind of fade into that more honey or lemon burst kind of look. This one, being very overtly cherry, is quite unique. It also sports a slightly lighter form of aging. So the previous guitars I showed you were either VOS or heavy aging. This fits into the category of light aging, and I can see that it is exactly that. There's no crazy dents or dings or scratches. It's just a fairly worn-in 59 Les Paul recreation. A very, very unique looking and sounding guitar. 1959 Les Paul Standard, Beauty of the Burst, page 90. Alright, so the fifth and final guitar. It is of course another 1959 Les Paul Standard. This one was the one I was most excited to play and to talk about because there is a connection with this guitar to Jeff Beck, who was one of the first adoptees of the Les Paul Standard in the late 60s. I believe he had this guitar around the time of the early Jeff Beck group, so about 68, 69. And it's really interesting that when these guitars first came out, they were not as popular as they became. And it wasn't until guitar players, particularly in Britain in the mid to late 60s, guys like Keith Richards, Peter Green, Jimmy Page, and Jeff Beck started to play these guitars and appreciate the magic that they had, as well as, of course, the beauty that they aesthetically have. The tone that these guitars have obviously went on to become legendary for many reasons, and Jeff's time with the Les Paul Standard showcased the kind of meaner, bit more heavy attitude that these guitars could deliver. So plugging it into an amp today, it was the first thing I wanted to go for, was that kind of more nasal, mid-range focused, overdriven tone. This guitar has, again, a really unique aesthetic quality in that the cherry is pretty much all still there, still intact with the finish, and the uncovered pickups reveal a unique configuration of a zebra in the neck and a double black in the bridge. It's a really cool, really mean looking guitar, and the sound that it produces kind of matches the aesthetic that it has, I feel. And I love the fact that it's got the artist connection. Some of these guitars do, some don't, but each one has its own unique history, which is well documented in the book, and it's really a treat to see it replicated by the custom shop for anyone to obtain. As you may have been wondering, the rig for today's video was very simple, very loud, but very effective to showcase the individual detail of each of these guitars. I just plugged them straight into a Friedman vintage Plex amplifier through a Friedman 2x12 cab with the very occasional boost from a Kingtone Soloist Deluxe, just here and there to add a little bit more sustain. But it's a tried and true formula. Gibson Les Paul through a British style amplifier, cranked up. That's what all the guys that played these guitars back in the 60s and 70s were doing, to great effect. And yet, even though it's a simple rig, each one of those players' personality came through, and as evidenced today, each of the guitars' personality also would come through in great detail. I'll just mention as well that at the time of recording, any of these instruments, or indeed any other Gibson custom instruments, can be obtained for UK customers with 24-month interest-free finance, and there are even some free Maestro effects pedals to be thrown into the mix too. All the details can be found fully on the website, so head over there, check it out, and enjoy. So I've been very fortunate to play tons and tons of Gibson Custom Shop instruments, and as fantastic as they all are, and they all have their own unique personalities, the thing that sets all of these guitars apart is the fact that they are replicating a specific guitar from history. And I think that adds this really kind of personal element. It adds a little bit more nuance to things, especially if you've grown up as a fan of the artist that played some certain guitars, for example, or you just love the look of a specific burst that you've seen. So there we go, folks, a bit of a deep dive into the Beauty of the Burst collection. Hopefully you found it interesting and you got some more info. If you want to find out even more, of course, the best reference is to get a copy of the book and read through it. But the cool thing is that 30 years have passed, a lot more history has been documented on these guitars, much more information about many more guitars have been found. So if you're interested and you want to either commission one of these guitars to be made for yourself, or you just want to find out more about it and indeed see the rest of the collection that we currently have in stock, because it's more than just these 5, then click the link down in the description below, head to our website, and you'll find everything you want to know. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below with your thoughts, and why not pick your favourite of the 5 that we've showed today. If you want to see more from us in the future, of course, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and you'll be notified whenever we post videos in the future. Until next time, take care, bye-bye.